History remembers kings as conquerors, warriors, and rulers. But sometimes a woman rises who shatters every expectation, every rule, and every boundary. This is not the story of just a queen. This is the tale of a girl who came from nowhere, who toppled her own husband, who built an empire with her mind, her passion, and her ruthlessness. Her name was Catherine the Great. But behind her crown were scandals, behind her beauty was ambition, and behind her empire was blood. This is her story. Catherine was born in 1729, not in Russia, but in a small German principality. Her name was Sophie of Anhalt-Zerbst. Her family was noble, yes, but poor. She was just another girl in a long line of forgotten princesses. But Sophie was different. From childhood, she devoured books, studied languages, philosophy, and politics. She was intelligent, calculating, and, most of all, ambitious. When she was only 14 years old, destiny knocked. The Russian Empress Elizabeth wanted a bride for her nephew, Peter, the heir to the Russian throne. Sophie was chosen. Imagine it, a young girl, leaving her homeland, traveling to the cold and dangerous world of the Russian court. She converted to Orthodoxy, changed her name to Catherine, and vowed silently, "I will not just survive here. I will rule." Her husband, Peter III, was a disaster. Peter loved Prussia more than Russia. He dressed like a Prussian soldier, worshipped Frederick the Great, and filled his palace with German officers. To the Russian people, he was a traitor before he even began. Even worse, he was immature, drunk, and cruel. Historians describe him as obsessed with toy soldiers, parading them around while ignoring state affairs. Their marriage? Cold, loveless, humiliating. Catherine, ignored and ridiculed, turned to books, tutors, and, eventually, lovers. But while Peter wasted his days in childish games, Catherine was building alliances. She charmed the nobles, the army, and the church. Everyone who despised Peter found hope in Catherine. She was still an outsider, but already she was becoming the future. In January 1762, Peter became emperor. By June, his rule was collapsing. He alienated the army by withdrawing from the war against Prussia. He offended the church. He insulted the nobility. Catherine saw her chance. With the help of the powerful Orloff brothers and the loyal Imperial Guard, she staged a coup. Picture this: Catherine riding through St. Petersburg in military uniform, sword at her side, declaring herself ruler. Soldiers cheered, priests blessed her, crowds shouted her name. Peter, abandoned and humiliated, was forced to abdicate. Within a week, he was dead. Murder? Accident? Poison? The truth remains hidden, but Catherine became Russia's empress. The girl who arrived as a foreign nobody had stolen an empire. Catherine's rule was not just marked by power, but by scandal. The empress was rumored to have countless lovers. Ministers, generals, poets, men entered her life, stayed for a season, then were replaced. Her most famous lover, Grigory Potemkin, was more than a partner. He was her co-ruler. Together, they dreamed of expanding Russia's empire, building fleets, conquering new lands. Potemkin became her soulmate, her general, her conspirator in both love and politics. Enemies, however, painted her as a monster of lust. Pamphlets across Europe mocked her. They claimed she was insatiable. They spread grotesque lies, like the infamous story that she died attempting intimacy with a horse, a complete fabrication. But here's the truth: Catherine was not ruled by desire. She used it. Each lover was rewarded with power, lands, and loyalty. Her bedchamber was not just personal, it was political. While the world gossiped, Catherine worked. She expanded Russia's empire by more than 200,000 square miles. She defeated the Ottoman Turks, taking Crimea, opening Russia's door to the Black Sea. She crushed Poland, dividing it among neighbors, until it disappeared from the map. She corresponded with Europe's greatest thinkers: Voltaire, Diderot, Rousseau. She dreamed of bringing Enlightenment ideals to Russia: education, art, literature. She built schools for women, opened theaters, filled palaces with paintings and statues. But there was a darker side. While Catherine spoke of freedom to philosophers, millions of Russian peasants remained serfs, slaves tied to the land. When Pugachev's rebellion erupted in 1773, led by a man claiming to be Peter III returned from the dead, Catherine's empire nearly collapsed. Tens of thousands of peasants joined the rebellion. Entire regions burned. But Catherine crushed it with brutal force. Rebels were executed, villages destroyed, and Pugachev himself was dragged in chains, executed in Moscow. This was Catherine, enlightened on the surface, ruthless in practice. Catherine's reign was filled with contradictions. She was called the Mother of Russia, yet many believed she cared little for the suffering poor. She was painted as a libertine, yet she was one of the sharpest strategists in European history. She was adored by her allies, despised by her enemies, feared by her rivals. Every night at court new rumors spread. Who would be Catherine's next lover? Which noble was favored? Which general was doomed? She turned scandal into a weapon, letting gossip distract from the real game, power. Catherine ruled for 34 years. Longer than almost any Russian monarch. Under her, Russia became a superpower, feared and respected across Europe. But age brought challenges. Her beloved Potemkin died in 1791, leaving her devastated. She never crowned him king, but in her heart, he was her true partner. In 1796, Catherine the Great suffered a stroke and died. She was 67 years old. Her son, Paul I, succeeded her, a son she had despised, a son she never trusted. Her enemies rejoiced, whispering once again about her lovers, her scandals, her supposed depravity. But history is not written in whispers. Catherine was many things. A foreign girl who stole a throne. A wife who betrayed her husband. A ruler who expanded an empire. A woman who mastered the politics of desire. To some, she was a tyrant. To others, a genius. To all, she was unforgettable. Even today, centuries later, Catherine remains one of history's most fascinating rulers. Her empire, her scandals, her secrets, they still echo. Because Catherine was not just a woman, not just a queen, not just an empress. She was Catherine the Great. And greatness always comes with a price.